Hey guys, Nubkeks here and welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. A new puppy has arrived, by the way, so if you hear some crazy barking and stuff in the background, that's him. He is not at all happy to be left in the kitchen. I've got to go and record some videos. Just gotta ignore him, he's gotta get used to being on his own sometimes. But anyway, we're gonna play some heroes today. As you can see, we are on Cursed Hollow. Enemy team's going to ban out Dahaka, remove that global presence. Actually, this was recorded just before that last patch where Dahaka was changed as well. But not going to matter too much. We're just not going to see any really Alarak or Tyrande in this game. And Diva isn't an option. But those wouldn't be too relevant anyway. Certainly the Tyrande and Alarak though, you know, they're not going to be in this game, but that's going to be fine. You can see the two globals kind of banned out here. Abathur is actually very popular on this map at sort of high levels on EU. He's just so strong with the mines to scout out and to zone out for the tributes and the bosses. The global split soaking presence he can have. The fact that, you know, oftentimes with the tribute spawns in this map, there's often, you know, one in the first initial three that will be very, very doable for your team, even with an Abathur. You know, it's going to be positioned in such a way that you've got a huge advantage in order to take it because it's on your side of the map. And if you are able to at least take one of the first three tributes, you should have ultimates. I mean, you should be past that sort of early game Abathur sort of power deficit by the time the objective actually makes a huge impact on the map. So that's always something that makes him really good on this map as well, right? Your early game is quite weak with Abathur. He does not get that good in the team fights until level 10. So that's an advantage on Cursed Hollow, is that the tributes don't do anything until you've got 3 of them, basically. The enemy team's going for an interesting composition here. They first pick the Tyrael, which is kind of wonky. Now, then again, Tyrael on this map, he does bring boss control with Holy Ground. And that gives us the opportunity to grab the Abathur. Our teammate grabbed Arthas to go alongside it, which is just fine. And then our team then went for Genji, and they took Sergeant Hammer as well, which is also somewhat unusual. But basically they're going to probably be looking for, you know, a fairly hard split push with the Hammer. That's going to be their way kind of countering the Abathur here, is that, well, they're just going to put massive pressure down one of the lanes with the Hammer. Oh, I can barely hear myself think. For a tiny little puppy, you can make so much noise. I don't know if the mic will pick any of that up. We're going to take a Chromie and a Malfurion. Now, the Chromie seems like a massive risk to me, especially with a Genji on the enemy team and a Tyrael. That could go pretty badly. And the enemy team did ban out Greymane, so that's one of the big clone targets for Abathur gone now. Greymane would be one of the ideal ones. Jaina is always a good one too, but like Greymane, Genji, all that sort of stuff, you know, kind of these heroes that are strong even without any talents, or that normally their squishiness is one of their biggest vulnerabilities. Those are the heroes that can work really well with an Abathur. Looks like we are considering taking an Illidan here, which would be kind of intriguing. He actually settles for a Lily in the end, so yeah, as you can see, I was saying to my friend Doge, who's on the enemy team, I was like, wait, did he just pick Chromie into Genji Tyrael? Did he just do that? I think he just did, with an Abathur in the team. So yeah, Chromie's gonna have a tough old time here. Chromie is gonna be very vulnerable. I like the Lily pickup. That's a bit of extra healing, a bit of extra zoning and protection to try keep that poor old Chromie alive. Tell you what, guys, we'll jump into the game and I'll talk to you then. Alright team, here we are in the game as dog barks in the background. We're going to be playing some Abathur in today's game. Abathur talent builds are in a really interesting spot. There's definitely a few sort of viable builds that are going around. One of the newer ones, since I think the last time I did a video on this guy, is the healing build, the shielding build, where you pretty much pick up all the talents for his carapace that you get while you're in symbiote form. That's very, very common actually these days, and can be very strong as well, giving some extra healing and shielding, extra sustain to your team comp, and helps pushing the lanes a little bit too, because it does spread to different minions. In this game, obviously, we're not going to be running that because we do have Malf and Lily. We got double support already, so that is not necessary. Yeah, we're going to pop up to this top lane and just try to stoke that at the start. Set up some of these mines around to cover some of these rotations and see what we can do. Need to be very careful here at level 1. Oh my goodness, puppy is so noisy. It's so noisy. Unbelievable. Oh boy, I'll have to get someone to buy the puppy when I'm recording in future, I think. This is not gonna work too much, but we'll power ahead for this video anyway. And apologies if it does interrupt too much. Certainly interrupts my thoughts a lot. We'll see as we go forward. So level 1 in this game though, I did go for pressurized glands for the Abathur. I have to say I like a symbiote build. I'm not a huge fan of like the split pushing build with the locusts. I think that one overall is probably the weakest. So pressurized glands at level 1. This will increase the range of our spike burst. That's our W, the area of effect ability when we are in the symbiote hat, by 25%. So more range on that makes it much easier to hit targets. Gonna synergize very nicely with our talents at 13 and 16. And then also decreases the cooldown by 1 second, which will also synergize very nicely with our talents, which is pretty fantastic. And yeah, I mean, basically our goal here early game as the Abathur is to support our teammates as much as possible. Like right there, for example, helping the Lily get a good trade against the Genji. We're trying to set up mines to cover sort of split pushes around the place and rotation. So we can kind of keep a bit of a tab on those. And we're also going to be trying to soak some of the XP in the other lanes. So for example right here, unfortunately we were a little bit slow. We missed the 3 melee minions, which is not good. But we are there for the caster and for the ranged one, so at least there's that. Gonna actually deep tunnel now to the mid lane to body soak that up. You can see what I was talking about here as well. The enemy team creating a lot of pressure on the map with the Sergeant Hammer. So that's become something of an issue for our team to deal with. Gonna just mine up this rotation point between mid lane and bot lane in case they try to move that Sergeant Hammer up. They might walk over those mines and then enable our team to be ready to rotate and cover those. So yeah, another big part of Abathur on this map, which you'll see later in the game, I actually kind of learned myself in this game, is to be mining up the bosses actually as much as you can. So you can see we're gonna probably be fighting over this tribute soon, so gonna lay some mines around the place. Your body as Abathur, this is a crucial part of Abathur, right? Your body, if minions die near you physically as a hero, you'll get the XP from them. If they die near your symbiote hat, that counts as a hero as well, so you'll also get XP from those. So certainly, it definitely very much used to be a thing that that Abathur would be body soaking. You move your physical body out very far into the lane in order to... Oh, don't die there. Oh, well, he's gone super deep. Why is he so deep? It's a bait, apparently. Or is it? Yeah, he should have run away a long time ago. Anyway, you see Lily is up top lane. So we were... The call to give that up, I think, was a good one. But, I mean, the good news is we did get a kill in return. So even though the Arthas did die, we still got a kill for ourselves, which is still good. And we are getting, decent XP. We are ahead, which is very, very important as Abathur not to fall far behind in terms of that. Got to throw some mines there onto that siege shine so we can maybe capture those and get those split pushing. See, Lily is actually still dealing with those up top. I was kind of assuming she's okay. I think, honestly, at this point, I should have been looking up at her a bit more than I was. I wasn't paying enough attention to her. We're going to help out the Arthas do this. But yeah, the Greymane took, or not the Greymane, sorry, who's banned out. The Rhaegar, I mean to say, I think was the one who soloed the camp on the left-hand side, which prevented Lily from coming to the tribute, and ultimately gave the enemy team the tribute, but that's okay. We're expecting to give up a fair few. It's not a problem. The enemy team case bruisers. We're going to have siege camp pushing, so yeah. God, poor puppy. Level 4, I did go for prolific dispersal, which is going to reduce the cooldown of our nests by 2 seconds. And then we're also going to get additional charges. So we're going to be able to lay that out a bit more. You can see right here with Lily Heartstoning, I'm going to transition my body up towards the top lane, start getting XP with my body, start pushing that lane a little bit with the Locust, while all the attention with the Siege camp down bottom, plus the Tribute, all the attention is being drawn away from there. Now this Bruiser camp in mid lane is going to do a lot of damage, unfortunately. There's not too much that we can actually do about that though, at least not for now. Now try help out our team. They are in some trouble. Chromie does go down, and you can see our attention is being very much split across the map, much as my attention is being split between commentary and the all the needs of this game that are going on. But as you can see, with Abathur, it's definitely a tricky early game until you do get that clone at level 10, at which point you do have this very powerful team fight engage. At level 7, I did go for Vile Nests in this game, which is going to make our Toxic Nests slow the enemy movement speed by 40% for 2.5 seconds. So I think, levels 4 and 7 are a really interesting one for the symbiote build. Level 7 in particular, because, you know, Needle Spine, your typical symbiote talent, isn't all that good, right? It's not all that good, so you can kind of give that one up and take something else. You could go for Mule, that's always an option, or Vile Nest is always a good option too. This is also part of why, you know, the Carapace build became somewhat popular, I think, is because levels 4 and 7 symbiote talents aren't necessarily that great. The typical symbiote one at level 4 is Adrenal Overload, which increases attack speed for the target with a symbiote on them by 25%. If you look at our team though, we don't really have any basic attackers to speak of, so there's no need to take that, which is why I went for the Mind talents instead. I also figured it would, you know, make Genji's life more difficult, and just kind of help things out. There's actually something interesting that I'm thinking about here, watching this now, is that, well, Chromie hits her ultimate kind of earlier than everyone else. So that's definitely something that, you know, we can play around a little bit, right? We've got that sort of power spike a bit earlier to try to bridge the gap over until we can start fighting a bit more with Abathur level 10. And in fact, we do hit level 10 just a bit before the enemy team, and that's just fine. Soaking this bottom lane with the symbiote while our body is up in the top. You have to be very careful with body soaking that you don't die, and you can see I'm being very cautious in this game, particularly because they've got a Genji. He's got such gap closing tools that I could be dead very quickly. And he's got X-Strike now as well, so that basically prevents me from really stepping outside of the base at all. If I do so, I'm probably going to end up dead, unfortunately. I'm looking at the microphone recording, I can see all the woofs showing up. Oh my god, it's luckily that pointed in the opposite direction, so there is that nice gank by the Lily, knowing the limits there of the hero and securing the kill onto Sergeant Hammer. Again, Hammer is the main threat for the enemy team. The Rhaegar is pretty strong as well, but I mean, Tyrael and Uberak, not the best in terms of wave clear, neither is Genji. It's the Sergeant Hammer that's going to create that powerful split push threat we need to worry about. With her off the map, that puts us in a really good spot to take some advantages here. Arthas does find the Rhaegar here in the brush. We're going to give him the symbiote, help him get some good damage down, and indeed, he's getting some very good damage down. Poor old Rhaegar in a lot of trouble. The enemy team is going to arrive, try to keep him alive. Arthas popping Army of the Dead. Walks into X-Strike actually, he's in some trouble, he's trying to stay alive. We're going to pop an Arthas clone, try to zone out the enemy team, just try to keep them under control and locked down. It's a good sanctification from the enemy team to try keep them alive, and they're able to heal up and sustain through that. Going pretty aggressive here, honestly, just trying to do that little bit of pushing. Chromie trying to grab this, but she's not going to be able to do so with Genji so close. But yeah, almost walking in as well to the line. You have to be very careful when you move out of symbiote that you don't move your body as Abathur. It's a very easy mistake to make. And you can see with the clone, once the clone goes down, our team fight gets a bit weaker. Arthas though does pick up a kill on the backside, which is great. Enemy team continuing to dive though, it's getting kind of scary. And it is worth oftentimes hopping between your clones and not, because you know your symbiote and not. Your symbiote abilities have a pretty long cooldown, particularly your W and your E, which are your most important ones. So he needs to be careful there. So you do need to be, you do need to be safe with that. I'm actually going to be dived. I'm very dead right here. We're going to try get out with the clone. The clone is the easiest way to escape because it's quick, but I mean, either way, we were going to die as soon as that expired. Probably better to just die early on. Should have been backing out in advance. I stayed way too long considering that there was the curse and get collapsed upon by the Anubarak. So that was definitely a mistake for me. Need to respect the dives from the team, especially when we lost 2 heroes and there was that curse coming in. Now Anubarak, he is in some trouble. Rhaegar attempting to keep him alive, but our teammates do secure the kill. Actually, we kill steal it with a symbiote at the last second. How rude, how rude. Gonna burrow down here to this bottom keep just to get those symbiotes pushing a little bit and start mining up that area. But yeah, that's a bit of a pity. I think our team, it's hard to pay attention to the team fight with all this woofing going on in the background, but I think our team is saying that, the Chromie, by leaving and attempting, very futilely to capture that tribute, kind of left us in a pretty rough spot. Now this is kind of an awkward position as well for the Abathur. And this is something I should have been doing. I should have been mining up the enemy boss much, much sooner. I've been actually taking too much time. You can see we don't have the charges. I'm actually not familiar. You can see this is some lack of experience with the Abathur. I'm not familiar enough with the map to actually lay the mines down properly. The enemy team is going to take that boss. think it's pretty obvious they were doing it regardless of mines, but that's something I should be setting up in advance, some mines to cover that. I think it's actually maybe even worth taking ballista spores on this particular map, which gives you global range on those mines and makes them last longer, just purely for the sake of, you know, scanning out the boss. I think that could actually work pretty well. You know, ballista spores and mule would definitely be a pretty reasonable choice. Once again, we're going to go for the Arthas clone to try, you know, dive that back lane line, just zone the hammer off. You can see we're zoning the Rhaegar off as well. We do go down, but we're doing some pretty decent zoning in the meantime, and Tyrael actually does die. Genji goes down as well. Chromie is dead, of course, but again, we're expecting Chromie to die a lot this game. No big surprise there. We're going to try help keep Lily alive and see if we can push this advantage a little bit more. Arthas just about going to escape. And yeah, things are, you know, definitely a close game. Definitely a close game. We're going to keep the mines up here just to make sure they can't sneak our boss. And yeah, we're going to start soaking some of this XP as well. Their boss should be dying pretty soon here. It's not too much of a threat, I don't think, to the keep. Probably should be looking at that again. Bit over-focused on the top lane, where Lily is getting a nice gank once again on Sergeant Hammer. We're going to stay in this. Try to get that kill. Not quite enough. Not quite enough. Yeah, there you can see the boss died. The keep took about 10-20% of its life, but not enough for it to die. Going in very deep on a Nubkeks, maybe even too deep. Arthur's losing a lot of HP. We're gonna actually clone him just to ensure the disengage can work. There's Genji arriving as well, so good thing we are here and trying to get out. We're able to root the Genji, do some decent damage to him, but he pops his protected. Arthur's now caught in a bad spot. We're trying to dive in deep, just try to zone out as much as we can. Army of the Dead popped. I think we'd already really disengaged. Not the best place to force a fight right here with the clone down, but that is what we're going to do. Chromie is going to pay the price. Luckily, Tyrael does as well. It's a pretty intense fight so far. Lily with the Water Dragon back off cooldown, able to zone off the hammer a little bit. Ancestral will save the Genji, and this is looking pretty rough at this stage. Looking pretty rough. Lily is very low. Gonna be able to give Arthas a shield. Probably should have done it on the Lily. She's able to heal herself. Arthas in the back zoning. Better mention actually my level 13 and the upcoming 16 talents. They do tie into this. I should have done this sooner. Grab the tribute. Is a bit focused on the retreat. The enemy team probably going for our boss at this stage. Soma Transference at level 13. This makes your Spike Burst heal the host hero for a bunch of health per hero hit. So it's a lot of extra sustain for a target that's in the middle of the enemy team with those Spike Bursts, and gonna synergize nicely with the extra range on Spike Burst plus the reduced cooldown at level 1. Level 16 then, we're gonna grab Envenomed Spikes, which will make our Spike Burst also slow enemy movement speeds by 40% for 2 seconds, which is very, very powerful as well. Right here, I should be laying down some mines on that boss just to make sure it's covered. And that's definitely something I should have been doing more in this particular game. I swear to God, this has been like 18 minutes and that dog has not stopped barking. He must be exhausted. We're training him so that we're not going to give him any attention until he actually stops the barking. Absolutely nuts. So this sort of mid-game and late game here have been a little bit rough for us. We've had a few rough team fights. And definitely one of the problems in this game is that there's not a great target for me to actually clone here. The good news is that we do have 2 tributes, so if we do get a curse here, we're going to be able to create some pretty good pressure with that. Now, with the curse, the tribute spawning up top, I'm feeling confident to move down deeper into that bottom lane, and then to lay out some mines on the enemy team's boss to try to get some zoning going on there. Genji able to take control of that tribute, pretty much no problem. But there we go, we should have established pretty good boss control over the enemy team. So that's good. We still have some mines up there in the top to cover ours as well. And I'm going to burrow up to the top lane, get in position to not only depush this top wave with my Locust, maybe even soak up some of that experience as that siege camp does actually push in. Going to use some mines to depush this as well, but also be in position to lay some mines down on our boss sort of preemptively to have that sort of covered as well. Just, I mean, it's very, Abathur's so interesting. There's so much strategy that goes on in terms of where you're positioning. I think he's such a cool hero from that perspective. Going for the kill here on the Genji, and they do secure it. Nicely done. The silence from Mouth helping us secure that. On this late in the game, a single kill, well worth the pick. In fact, it turns into 2 as a Nubkeks tries to save the Genji and he gets taken out as well. This should be a boss for us. We can maybe even transition that into an enemy boss. Okay, we're actually, with the enemy boss respawning right there, we're actually going to go steal theirs. And there's actually a tribute right beside it, so this should work out well. Actually gonna just preemptively clone the Arthas to try secure these kills. We get the root, yes we do, on the Rhaegar. That should be a dead Rhaegar. Down he goes. We're gonna be able to go boss into tribute. Maybe even try to end the game through that bottom lane, through that bottom keep as we're fighting into the curse. This could work out really well for us indeed. Gonna try tank this up with the clone as much as possible, seeing as it's gonna die anyway. Okay, there we go. Clone is down. Goodbye, clone. Let me just push this out a little bit. Actually, at this point, something I'm not doing but should have done, I think, would be to mine up our boss in case the enemy team does try to do a sneaky counter boss. Very risky for them to do it. I don't think they would, but probably a good idea. Also, very easy to kill minion waves. Okay, so I am mining up the boss just in case that is going to be something that's going to happen. But as Abathur now, during the curse, we're going to be super effective at actually soaking up those minion waves. We just throw a symbiote on, and one spike burst will wipe out the entire minion wave, grab all of that XP for us, and very quickly push those lanes and get us that XP advantage. We're pretty much the most effective hero at this stage of the game at soaking up during a curse. I'd say probably even better than the Lost Vikings, to be honest with you, because they have to put themselves somewhat at risk in order to do so. I'm going to jump onto this Lily. You see, the enemy team's having a fairly tough time actually working this boss down. Sanctification is burned for pretty much nothing. We're actually going to clone Chromie at this stage as we push in, see if we can pick off some people here as we're coming through with some of these skill shots, put the enemy team under pressure. Nubkeks goes down, Tyrael goes down as well. The boss is still on half HP, which is pretty good for us. Genji comes in with the X-Strike. We're just trying to pressure away this Rhaegar. Genji on the run from the Chromie. The clone does go down, that's okay though. Our whole team is pretty low. Level 20, gonna grab Hive Mind. So whenever we put our symbiote on a hero, it will create a second one on a hero that's nearby as well. So it gets pretty much double value out of our symbiote stuff, which is pretty nice. Arthur's almost going down. I'm gonna give him a little bit of a shield. He's gonna be able to heal himself up, get some help from his team as well. Gonna lay some mines on the boss in case the boss is gonna be relevant. Actually, I'm making a mistake here. It should be on my teammates with the Hive Mind. That is a mistake for sure. Maybe we'll heal up the Lily, give her a shield. Core is down. But yeah, with the core going down, that should have been my main focus. Overly focused here on map control, missing out on the most important thing in the game, which is, of course, the core HP and the fact that my team is wiping out the core. So yeah, with a couple of nice picks coming up to that final tribute, the final tribute we needed to get the curse, plus that spawning right beside the enemy team's boss, and with the with the fort already being down, it turns into a pretty easy, couple of picks, transition into taking a free boss, free tribute, free curse, push in on the keep, take out the keep, get level 20, push in on core, and end the game with that. I think the enemy team could have put up a better fight than they did in the end, but we'll take it nonetheless. And there you guys go. That was a game of Abathur, pretty intense. Hopefully the commentary was okay with the dog in the background and with my mind being blasted by this constant woofing and barking. But yeah, there should be the talent build on the left hand side of the screen. There's lots of Abathur talent builds you can go for. You can go for a full Carapace build, it's actually really good. You can go for a build like I did here, which is like, a spike burst plus some mines talent build. You can go for this one with Adrenal Overload, and Needle Spine. You can grab Adrenal Overload and Mule. I mean, Ballista Spores and Mule could also be good. You've got kind of a fair few options. Obviously 1, 13, and 16 with this build are the big synergies. Oh, and level 20, of course, as well, the Hive Mind. Not a huge fan of the split pushing Locust builds. I don't think it's that great, but they're, maybe sometimes they could work. And then, of course, Ultimate Evolution. At higher levels of play, definitely the better heroic. At lower levels of play, you can get away with Evolved Monstrosity a lot more, though it does tend... The problem with Evolved Monstrosity at higher levels is that your team simply loses all the team fights, because you're basically 4.5 heroes versus 5, so it's very difficult to team fight, and enemy teams can punish that so heavily. So yeah, guys, there you go. Hope you enjoyed, and again, apologies for the audio stuff. I'll catch you all again next time for more Heroes of the Storm. Bye bye.